gotta earn it. No, if you were an alien race, let me see, what alien race would you be? I'm Norwegian. Look, I don't have to, look, there's like no hair there. You look great today, by the way. You should see what I have to look at over here. Hashtag clean home. I don't even have to shave. Jeremiah would be Barf from Spaceballs. I'm just saying you have a lot of facial hair.
Not cool, bro. Not cool.
Different, and it's gonna be perfect. Sorry, I sat on Siri. There are Hello, adventurer. All of us are a snob about something. I don't know what you're a snob about, but I know I'm a snob about stuff. Do you have that friend who they're a snob about coffee? You can't say like, oh, this is great coffee because they just know like where the beans came from, every detail. Or I say, oh, this is a great song. And they say, oh yeah, but the vinyl album version, you got to hear that. Mac versus PC, that's more of religion. So that's fine. I might like something. That doesn't mean that it's bad if you don't like that thing. The problem though, is that when we start to use the word excellence, let me give you a little secret. Excellence is a lie. See, if we're all snob about something, if there's something that I really like, then that means excellence is relative. So the problem is if we keep chasing each other's excellence, especially on a team, it gets based upon one person's preferences, and that can be dangerous to a culture. Another thing that's a problem with excellence is that when people think they've achieved excellence, then they stop growing. And you should always grow, you should always learn. And here's a little secret for you. Replace the word excellence with improvement, and it changes everything. You see, instead of it being relative based upon somebody's personality or what somebody liked, if we just change the word improvement, wow, then something amazing happens. Everybody on my team, every area of my life, I'm not looking to have perfection, I'm looking to improve because there is no perfection. Perfection's really, really boring. We were not all designed to be perfect. We were all designed to get better, to learn. So think about improving. What if you would improve just 1% a day, 1% a week? Do you know that only 8% of people ever keep their New Year's resolution? Well, that's because they're chasing perfection. You're trying to change something to be completely instead of saying, you know what, that's not how this works. Do you know that if you just stead and focused on improvement, say, I want to be better? This is why diets don't work. Diets are temporary. You're not going to be able to be perfect. That's why when you incorporate something like a cheat day, that helps with it. Understand that life is an adventure. It's a journey. We are never going to be perfect. So there's a really cool story that I read about the Tour de France. In 2010, the British cycling team for the Tour de France, they were called Team Sky. And their coach of the time is named David Brailsford. And the challenge that he faced is that no British team had ever won the Tour de France. So he started to take this idea about these 1% changes. He called it the aggregation of marginal gains, which was just that when you made small changes, over time, the changes on the changes started to create something big. So for example, if you changed 1% this week, then next week, if you change another 1%, that's not 2%, it's 2.01%. And that 0.01% doesn't seem to mean a lot. But then the third week, it's not 3%, it's 3.0301%. So here's what he did. He decided to start with the obvious thing. Let's tweak nutrition a little bit. Let's look at the weight of the tires. Let's try the different seats on the bike. But then they started to get really crazy with it. They started to say, well, you know, which pillows are more comfortable? They started to look at everything. He thought it would take 5 years to win the Tour de France, but he was wrong. It only took 3 years. The next year, he won with even a different cyclist. He went to the Olympics with this team and they won 70% of the medals that were available for the sport. So let me show it to you like this. See, what happens is it's not something like this where you grow like that, but that's what we're thinking. Now, actually what we want is we want to say, hey, I want to go from being this to this like overnight, but it's not linear at all. What happens is you start making those changes and this is what that looks like. You start adding that 1% to that 1% to that 1% and eventually it becomes explosive. So what we say is, oh, somebody became an overnight success here, or somebody had a failure here. and they had this big success or this big failure. But you know where these started? They started way back here when those little changes seemed to make no difference. So you say to yourself sometimes, man, I feel like I'm doing everything right and they're doing everything wrong and they're winning. And you know what? Over time, this is what happens. Now, the saddest thing for me is that this person here, they're usually giving up right here. They're giving up right where they've worked so hard and they're not seeing the payoff. But if you just look at the math, they're just right before their big payoff. So don't give up. So here's what you need to do. I want you to look at maybe 3 things, and it doesn't have to just be social media. It can just be different areas of your life. Look at what is a 1% change you can make this week? How you learn, how you do something with your business, how you're running an organization. Make your dream public. Tell publicly on social media. Use the hashtag. Tag one of us in the post. We want to be there, but more importantly, tag the people that you're on that adventure with. Talk about it. Look at the 1% change that you're trying to make. Don't try to be perfect. And you got to understand that you're going to want to give up. Your success is just another 1 or 2% away. I would hate for you to give up right before your big success. Every adventure is step by step, and your adventure begins right now.